StitchyTube. Settle down and watch StitchyTube in 2023, March 19th. Hey, hello. Glad to be here. Good to see you. Good to see me. I am recording on my brand new Mac computer. The old one, of course, just right before market. Oh, is that right? Briar says she wants to say hello. She had to go to the vet this week because she had a little cold. Right? She gets kind of hissy. Doesn't always love it. So my other computer that I have been working with the last 5 years or so, finally just started really struggling to I know, you just think. So I made a turkey sandwich a little bit ago, and I think she's hoping there's more turkey. I'm sorry you had enough. I'm sorry. You want to sit on my lap? I'll tell you how pretty you are. Once again, my new computer replaces my other one that really had just started to struggle to do anything with reliability. And it was like just before market. I was finally like pulling my hair out, like trying to do updates. The new operating systems come in and they slow things down. So I just decided to take the plunge, and I bought a Mac. I think it's called the iMac, and it's a 24-inch monitor with the computer. All the guts of the computer are built into the monitor, and it's only like this thick. It's like a giant iPad almost. She's never usually this. What do you need? Just sit up here. Here. Oh, just for you. She'll think about it. So I got a pink one. I wore a pink shirt to celebrate my new pink computer. And the cool thing is I'm not using a light. Historically, I've used a light while I make my videos. And sometimes it like reflects off my glasses, and sometimes it just, kind of creates a glare or whatever, or washes me out. And I also am just using the built-in microphone, which works much better too. So I am already very glad to have this new computer, and it's going to make things really great for me. This is StitchyTube, by the way, number 66. Lucky number 66. They are all lucky numbers, aren't they, Briar? She's got so much love today. Can you hear her purring? So I want to start off this video with an apology. And it's to one person in particular. At market, I didn't have a booth this year, so I was attending just as a shopper. And my mood was up and down all weekend. I was sad that I wasn't there as a vendor. I was sad missing people, who normally have been there in many years past, who I knew I wouldn't get to see that year. I had a couple people say things that weren't very nice to me, but I was really excited because I was seeing a lot of very good friends with their new designs, a lot of inspiration. And I walked into a booth, and this brand new designer, I'm assuming it was her first market, she kind of really perked up when I came in and started to say like that she was so excited to meet me. And I was not able in that moment to respond with grace and cheerfulness. I just was in a mood, and I think meeting me was kind of a letdown. I'm so sorry. I tried to find you or figure out how to get a hold of you. I couldn't find any contact information. Anyway, I want to apologize for a lackluster performance on my part of being a gracious person. It wasn't the best. I could have done better, and I do try, but I don't always succeed. So if you ever want to reach out to me and chit chat, I would love to talk to you. I promise next time I'll do better. It was really fun to go to market and spend time with Jen from Jen's Stitching Niche. One of my besties. She moved to Colorado about a year and a couple months ago, and so I miss seeing her. And it was really nice for us to get to spend a couple of days together, not only shopping at Nashville, but chit-chatting and going out to eat. And she's just a great joy in my life, just a very supportive friend. It was neat to see market again as like just a buyer and not have a booth. But like I said, I really was, I had a moment of panic. Like a week before market, I was like, maybe I should just see if they have a booth that I could hop into. Like, I just was really feeling like, how many days do I need to get something ready? And I just was like, Treese, just calm down. It'll be fine. It was really fun to shop at the market. I did come home with way more things than I would have if I had had a booth and not been able to get out and shop. but I kind of found I was done shopping fairly quickly, quicker than I thought. They did add the Friday night shopping this year, and so I'm kind of feeling like, if they'll have me back, or if I, can get on a waiting list, that maybe I'm just going to go back into doing a booth again next year. I just wasn't sure. I've been trying to find ways to push back on the amount of work I have to do, and I found that I really missed it. And maybe next year. But thank goodness I didn't. I literally was trying to figure out, like, can I still get in? It's gone, Therese. It's gone. But it was very inspiring. I love seeing the new fabric colors, the new thread colors, talking to friends from the past 25 years, seeing what new designs people have. Even though there are a lot of previews in these days you used to get a lot of previews ahead of time, it's still way different to see things in person than it is to see them just on an email or online somewhere. And so seeing things in person really was super great. I didn't end up doing any interviews this year, and I thought that was something I would get done. Like I said, I just found myself not being super cheerful at different points during the weekend, and I just was trying to just have a calm show experience. But I did do interviews in 2022 that I never put together, and it is my intention sometime in the next week to cobble those together and do like a retro, like, travel back in time and see Market 2022. Because I did have interviews with some of the designers who weren't there this year, and I just thought I might as well put them up. I think some of you would be interested to see it. So that is my Market experience. It's, came home to very many orders, and I had the help of Brittany and Patrick, who is helping me. Both of them will be leaving sometime in the next 6 weeks, so I'm kind of bummed about that. And then Graham came to help me, and then Harrison came for a couple of days too, because it was my birthday a week ago. And so I had a lot of help in the house, which was nice. So I kind of cruised on through most of the orders. I'm always running at least a few days behind, but very much managed this year. So it was very nice to have extra help. Okay, so my prize last time, something's going to be dinging at me here. I'll just leave it. My prize last time, I think, was a $25 gift card, and I wanted people to tell me a grandma memory that they have that was special to them. And I chose a winner at random using a random comment picker, and the winner is Margaret Dooley Duncan. And she said she used to visit her grandma every Christmas and summer, and it was a great memory for her up until she was in her teens. And she said that in the summertime, her grandma would have her pick blueberries, and I think it was choke cherries. And I'm assuming grandma maybe lived in the Midwest. I grew up in North Dakota, and choke cherries were a thing. They're kind of wild. They're not super flavorful. And I don't know that you would eat them on your cereal or anything. I think they're a little bit bitter. They're kind of a pale pink color. They're kind of cool. The juice is a pale pink color. And so choke cherry jelly, everybody made choke cherry jelly. Everybody picked choke cherries all the live long day and made choke cherry jelly, this kind of pale pink jelly that had I feel like it's one of those things, like if Gordon Ramsay found out about choke cherries, he would do something fabulous with them. But it was a very subtle berry, but like almost like floral flavor. Anyway, some of you will know what I'm talking about when I say choke cherry jelly. So congratulations to Margaret Dooley Duncan. That sounds like a Harry Potter character or something. Contact me at my email below, and I will get you set up with your prize. Next time, I would like you to, if you want to enter, you can make a comment about what one of your favorite things that came out of Nashville was this year. It could be a designer that was at Market, or a producer that was at Market, or it could just be something that kind of came out during the same time period. And people always ask, like, oh, what's your favorite thing? And I hated not getting to see Alma from Blackbird this year. I really, really love this book, United We Stand. They're not new designs, I don't think. I think they were done for other things. I love this square mattress style pincushion. I would love to make it. I believe the instructions with pictures are in here. Aren't they? Yes. And so a lot of times people will see something like this and they're like, oh, I like the design, but I can't do that. And it's like, well, you can't intuitively do it. Like there's no way I could just do this. But if you just follow starting at step 1 and just do what they say in each step, you should come out pretty close. You could always cheat and use a finisher too. But I just think they're really cool. It's a very nice book. They have that, new book smell. And so I would say that's one of my top things that was at Market. I really, really liked this book. And it has felt like summer here in the South. We've had an extremely mild winter. And so we've been running the AC. I mean, it's been in the mid 80s here some days. So that's that. Anyway, that one's going in my stash. Okay, where am I? Okay, whips. I thought I'd start with whips. And I think I do. Okay, so, and FFOs. So I don't get a ton of stitching done 100% of the time. I have been making more of an effort to get at least a little done here and there. I had my friend Sue and I exchange gifts for Christmas and birthdays. And a year ago, September, Sue and I went with some friends. It was Laura from Brenda and Laura, Nicole, Christy Muir, Lori Holt, Nicole from Nicole's Needlework, Sue and I think that's everybody. And we went to Salt Lake City for a trip. And one of the things we did was went to a place which Salt Lake City's so nice. If you get a chance, I would go back. It's a very clean, polite city with things to do. Plus, Shepherd's Bush is like right there. And we went to, I think it was called like Gardner Village, which they had a great place to have lunch. And they had a little yarn shop that I thought was really, really cool. And one of the things they had was this model of a scarf that was done. And then they had the skeins of yarn you needed to make it. And I don't knit. Like, I really don't knit. I have knitted before. I knit poorly is what I should say. I can knit, but I knit poorly. But they had this scarf that I was like dying that I loved it so much. And I was like, oh, I really love this. I don't know. And then we went back and I was like, I feel like I should just go buy the kit and thing, because if I ever do learn to knit, I would want to knit that. And my friend Sue finally goes, Teresa, I bought it and I'm going to stitch it for you. So I was like, oh, yay. So she worked on it all last year, I think 1 square a month. And she made me this beautiful scarf. And I think it was called like a Harry Potter scarf or something, because they originally did it in colors from Harry Potter. But every little square is a different design. And it's one of these scarves. I can't promise I'm going to wear it the rest of the video, but it's one of these scarves that you do this kind of situation with, and you just kind of feel like you're cool. So Sue made this. She worked very hard at it all year. Nicole from Nicole's Needlework also had bought a kit. And so Sue and Nicole kind of buddy-buddied on it, where I knew Sue was making it, but they would talk like, just tips and things. Like a stitch along, only it was a knit along. So Sue and I went to Florida in January for a 5-day trip, which was really fun. And we got to see Nicole. Nicole came for a couple of days because her mom lives there. And Sue gave me this in Florida, which I was so excited to get. And then Nicole gave Sue the one she made. So Sue and I have matching scarves, which is really, really cool. So this was my Christmas present from Sue that I got in January. I had been waiting. For some reason, there was like a hold up with the frame for the piece that I stitched for her. So I didn't get it to her until, I don't know, like a month ago or something. And what I stitched was, I'll put a picture here. That's what I get when I don't do videos every week. I don't know which way to point. So this is what I stitched for her, and that's it in the frame. That's how she received it. It is a pattern from Sampler and Antique Needlework Quarterly, the spring 2009 issue. And it's called a little black dog sampler. And there's a history of these samplers in there. Other designers, I think, have designed, some of these, or have reproduced some of these samplers. It wasn't one that really grabbed me, but sometimes I will grab a stack of my, old stitching magazines and just flip through, because sometimes you see something anew that you didn't kind of notice before. And again, I didn't love the colors on it, but I thought the borders were really pretty. Let me see if I can find. But then they had a picture in here somewhere of the original, which is there. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's so pretty. So I basically substituted colors to make mine look dustier like that. And instead of the little black dog, I put a little black cat, because Sue has a cat that she adopted He's an adult. He's all black, and his name is Ace, and he's just like the sweetest dude. And so I put Ace on there with an A for his name, and then I put an S and a T for our two names, which was, so I kind of personalized the sampler. But that was a finish that I had, which I was really glad about. This week I've been working on Brenda Gervais' Summer Schoolhouse series. It's a 4-chart series. I think there are 5 pin cushions, plus there's like an additional, like a little something. I think it like a little horn booky kind of thing. I bought it back when these charts came out, and this was when I was not in the industry. And so here are 2 of them. I'll do them side up. So that one's done. This one's done. And then I've got this one is finished. This was the first one. And they're over 1 on 28 count mushroom Lugana, which I don't always love doing over 1, but over 1 on 28 count Lugana is great. And then there's this one. So that's the one I was working on last night. I'm using one of my princess hoops that I got on eBay. It's extremely lightweight. It weighs almost nothing. And things can get really nice and tight. The other thing I like about the princess hoops is you've got this, kind of it's not a spring per se, but it's this little bend in the metal that helps keep the pressure really nice, but it's not a screw. You know how like on a lot of hoops you get like the 2 sticky uppy things with a screw that goes through? I always like snag my thread on it coming through, and this you just don't get that. You just don't get that where you're catching your thread there all the time. So I'm on that one. I'm rounding the corner. That one will be probably finished in the next week or so. And then I'll be on to the last one, and then the other little supplemental piece. And I think she has finishing instructions. I'm not sure, but they're really just little pin cushions. I'm super excited to get them done. I guess I'm feeling kind of summery just because it's been so warm here. In the South, one of the harbingers of like spring is the azaleas, which were beautiful this year, and they're just finishing up. So we're really kind of entering the phase of now something's going to be blooming pretty much all the time. Okay, so I did my Sarah Stevenson Summer Schoolhouse scarf. Oh yeah. So this was something I worked on over Christmas, and it was a kit that I bought through Blackberry Primitives. If you, I'll put a link to Blackberry Primitives below. They do a lot of like wool applique, that kind of thing. And not last year, but the year before, maybe they had a set of 4 applique pieces by Maggie Bonomi that I think was like a re-release, where it was the series that had come out before, and they were re-releasing it in kit form. So you got all the little scraps and pieces. I think this is the summer one. And so there's that. But I finished that over Christmas. Isn't it pretty? I feel like I'm going to finish this one. And I think I'm going to frame it, actually. I don't know. I haven't decided. I feel like if I set this on the table, the cats will sleep on it. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. But it's very pretty. Applique is really fun. If you haven't tried it, it really is pretty forgiving. And wool applique in particular, you just don't, it's not a very difficult process, and you just feel like you can make something very quickly, which is what I like about it. I'm not sure if those are still available, but you could check them out. I know they have a lot of Maggie's other designs, and I think they do a fair number of kits on their site. So check out Blackberry Primitives. Their customer service is really excellent. Okay. I was trying to think of a list of 10 things that I could talk about, which I do. And I thought one of the cool things I could talk about, I'm sure a lot of people have done market videos. And like I said, I just didn't take a lot of pictures or video. But I thought I would talk about 10 charts that I treasure. So these are 10 charts from my personal stash that for some reason or other I treasure. And these aren't the only ones I treasure. It was kind of hard to narrow down, so eventually I just had to start choosing. So maybe sometime I'll do another 10, but these are in no particular order. The first one is Little Red House Sampler by Brenda Gervais of With Thy Needle and Thread. And I hear you. You might be saying, I don't remember that one. when did that one come out? Well, the answer is I went to her first retreat in 2019 with at the Farm Girl Retreat in Amana. I think it was the first Amana retreat that I went to. It might have been the first Amana retreat also, just in general. But this was a chart that she gifted to everybody who attended the retreat. And now you can order it through Brenda on her website at countrystitchesonline.com. I'll put the link below. So it's the Little Red House sampler. It is an original design of hers, I believe, but she does collect samplers with this little kind of angular house on it. It's a very pretty sampler in, just kind of reds and soft greens, very summery. I like that it's just, got a lot of creative white space. There's a lot of, it has a very airy feel to it, but it also brings back a lot of good memories because Amana is so much fun. And I think this was my first time going. And so it was just a great time with good friends and a neat thing to get a gift of a unique sampler. Love it. It was fun to find that. I really did scooch through my stash pretty fast, but it was fun to see some old favorites. So this next one is actually a few, and needleprint samplers were something that I used to carry when I had my shop, and Jacqueline stopped creating charts probably like 2012-ish, I want to say maybe, but I used to carry these. They'd come out once in a while, and they're great quality charts. And she did a lot of Quaker Ackworth samplers, but she had some others that she would do too. Some of these are still available on my site. If you look in the, like this one I still sell. Another company has bought the rights to produce them, but they don't print all of them. I really like that one, the Sarah Spence one. So anyway, I used to carry these, and I would get so excited when they would come in the mail. I can almost just feel the sun coming in through the window in my shop when I would get these boxes. And I want to say they were like $19 charts or something like that. You can still find these on eBay sometimes, or like the stash unloads. It just depends. But like I said, a few of them are available on my site. Hannah Gilpin is, Hannah Gilpin is one of them. And then there are two of the Beatrix Potter. There's a Beatrix Potter Quaker and a companion to Beatrix Potter. And I've had somebody ask recently, did Beatrix Potter stitch that? No, I believe it was just a sampler in her collection. So she didn't stitch it, but it was one that she owned. So anyway, if you can find these, or if you have them, break them back out. I think they're just so lovely and really nicely charted, full color chart. She would do these big spreads where you got information about, the heritage of the sampler, and just a real good quality chart. I miss seeing those. I wish she was still designing. It was really cool. This was another something I used to carry at my shop, and it's a book called The Schoolgirl's Work by Barb Adams and Alma Allen, and of Blackbird Designs. And, they've released a good number of books over the years. This was one I carried in my shop when it came out, and I loved it immediately. It's really a cool book. Now it's samplers from the Spencer Museum of Art. And so it's just a collection of different samplers and kind of notes about it. And I'm not going to do a full flip through or anything, but they've taken some of the pieces of the samplers in here. They haven't reproduced the actual samplers in their entirety, but they have done a number of, I'm probably flipping through these too fast. Yes, you say. Stop flipping so fast. Like this one is really pretty. It's a pretty big book. I mean, let's see. Yeah, it's like 100 pages. And it isn't, I don't imagine that they will reprint this one. I seem to remember hearing that it was kind of a big project to do something in conjunction with this museum, and that there may have been royalties paid or, like donations made or something like that. And that it just was a pretty big production to do. You can find this one online. Sometimes like on Amazon or eBay or Etsy. but expect to pay a lot of money for it. Usually when I see it, it's about $130, it seems like. Is it worth it? I don't know. I really enjoyed looking at the book. This one I think is really cute. So anyway, that's something I really cherish because it is hard to find, and I have liked it right from the start, especially this one on the cover. How great is that? I think that's called tambour work. It's kind of like chain stitchy. So pretty. They always had such a good eye for samplers. This one is really cool, and this one goes back to something I was talking about earlier. Mary Busby by the Leisure Needle. I had never seen this chart. I don't know much about it at all. Part of why I like it is I bought it at Shepherd's Bush a year ago, September. And one of the cool things about the Shepherd's Bush shop is there's so much in there. They've been in business for a long, long time in the same location, and they have charts and charts and charts and charts and charts. And things are organized, and they're just everywhere you look, there's another pile of charts or another container of charts. And so it was so fun to get on the floor and open some drawers and look behind things. And it was kind of like a treasure hunt, trying to find what you could find. And I found this chart and I bought it because like I said, I hadn't seen it. I thought it was very pretty. And so it's cool to me because it has a memory attached to it of being with my friends and shopping at Shepherd's Bush, which is something I've always wanted to do. And, getting to talk to Tina and Terry. And it was just such a fun day. We had a great time. So that's why I cherish this chart, is it has a happy memory attached to it as well as it being a beautiful chart. This one is another chart I treasure. It's actually a kit. And I bought this back in 2005, I want to say. I went to the Scarlet Letter in Wisconsin, field trip with my Embroiderers Guild. I lived in Winona, Minnesota at the time, and my local EGA was 30 miles away, or about 30 minutes away, and it was in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And anyway, Marcia at the Scarlet Letter had an event where you could come and look at her antiques and her buildings and shop through her merchandise, which included like books and kits and charts and fabric and threads and scissors and all kinds of things. And if there was a day, like if I had to pick 10 days to go back to, that might be one of those days I would love to redo because it was really, really fun. There were peacocks and rabbits, and there were cattle with like furry faces and like long horns, and there were people in costume, and it just was such a fun day. It was kind of still a little chilly. The daffodils, I remember, were just coming up. And yeah, it was just super fun. And to do so with other stitchers, it's just fun to have a day like that where you can all kind of geek out over the same kinds of things. So I cherish this. I really should just stitch it. It's so cute. And I did later get this other kit which matches the sun and the moon, and it would be neat to do them together. They both came with the silks. I do carry these charts, so you can find Sol and Luna in the Scarlet Letter section of my website, and she does still sell them too. I'm not sure if she still sells them as kits, but I just love that old style, and like I said, they bring back a happy memory. Oh, here's another needleprint chart. Martha Brady. This is another chart that I kind of treasure, and I've been stitching since about 1980-ish, I think. And at that time it was all Ada, and just anything I could put my hands on was cute. You know what I mean? If I had it, it was cute. And one of the designers that I really liked in the 80s was somebody named P. Buckley Moss. And I worked in a Great Frame Up franchise as a teenager in like 1986 to like 1988 or something like that. And we used to sell her limited edition little prints. They were always little, and they were kind of, they seemed really expensive to me at the time. They were like $35 or $25 or $40. And June Grigg Designs did release a series of her getting a little glare there, of her prints as leaflets. And I have stitched, well, I have stitched one. Hang on just a second. I've stitched a couple, actually. They stitch up really nice. So this is one of them. And you can actually find these charts on eBay or Etsy really cheap. They're not something I don't think that people really talk about, but look how pretty it is. Just DMC floss, and really fun to do. So anyway, this just kind of takes me back in time to the 80s when I was pretty new to cross stitch and just really enjoying anything I could get my hands on. I've never stitched this one yet, but gosh, isn't it cute? It's still cute. I love the colors. I just have never gotten sick of that style. Kind of Amishy. Okay, here's another chart. So this one is by The Good Housewife. And this is another one I used to carry in my shop called 1798 Quaker Sampler. And this one, does it say when it came out? 1999. So I would have been, I opened my business in 97. And I remember going to a show and seeing this. And up until this point, you know, I had stitched samplery kinds of things, but I remember walking past the booth and like seeing this and literally like stopping in my tracks and backing up and looking at the model and going, I love that. What is that? I didn't really know about Quaker samplers, and I still think it's so pretty. I should definitely stitch it. This is one I used to carry. I don't think you can find this one anymore. You know, your best bet would be like eBay. I bet it's not easy to find. But 1798 Quaker Sampler by Good Housewife. Maybe you can find a friend to borrow it from. But I love it. So that's kind of what I remember about that is just that being so enamored with that look. This one is by a company called Fancy That. And when we moved from Fargo to Winona, I had my local shop was in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and I don't think I bought this there. No, I don't know where I bought this. But they had all this real like primitive kind of folky patterns, and they were just starting to use something called sampler threads that I had never heard of before. And Weeks Dye Works, oh my Lord, what are those? And Just Another Button Company buttons. And so it was like a total reset for me to be exposed to, you know, growing up, I had the Nordic Needle nearby, and they were a little more mainstream in the types of things they carried. They weren't real folky or primitive, or they had samplers, but they were usually very like elaborate and, you know, intricate and detailed, and not primitive folky kind of like I like. And the Cross Stitchery was the name of the shop, and I always loved going to visit there. Visiting there was very inspiring to me to want to open my own cross stitch business. And I did stitch this one for a friend way back when. Isn't it so cute? It's not very big, and I should just stitch it again. I framed it in like a really big, thick, black, chunky frame for her. She was a knitter, so it just turned out really cute. But these patterns you can find on eBay or Etsy, and you can usually get them for a pretty good deal. She doesn't design anymore and hasn't probably since, you know, the turn of the millennium probably. This one came out in, does it say? 96. Yep. All right. Another chart that I value is the Kingsford Sampler by Kathy Barrick. And this was really one of her first, I'm looking to see if there's a date on it. This was one of her first patterns, at least one of her first ones that I remembered. And she really was kind of just getting going when I opened my business. And she was somebody whose charts I started carrying immediately because there was something about them that I just loved. This is a chart that is still available. I have it on my website, but you can also order it directly from carriagehousesamplings.com. I don't think it's available as a download, but it's just got such a cool primitive look to it. And I still would like to stitch it someday. I don't know what it is that just I really love, but it's just kind of folk art at its finest. And Kathy is someone I've gotten to know over the years. She's such a delightful, lovely person and a great, great, great designer. And looking back at her things, like you can look at something like this that's 25 years old And it's like, it's still pretty. It's still something that I would like to do. So there's that one. So that reminds me of just getting into the industry. And the last one that I have as something that I value is the Happy Heart Sampler by Birds of a Feather. It looks like mine has a water stain on it. I've had this such a very long time. And it's not available anymore. You can't find it. You can look on eBay. Sadly, it's just one that, you know, it was out for a long, long time, and then it was gone, and then people kind of started coming back to stitching. I've not stitched it yet, but I love it. There's so much I really like about this. I always liked the Birds of a Feather style. It's very prim, very American folk art. The colors I always enjoy, and this is one that just looks like it would be a lot of fun to stitch. I did get to, I'm trying to think if I met her at Market, but their fabrics I used to carry too, and they were so great. Just really just vibrant, intense color, and really look like old fabrics. Anyway, that's my list of 10, I hope it was 10, charts that I really value. And it's fun to look through your stash, you know what I mean? You think about, I think we all collect charts that we like, but sometimes you buy a chart and there's something special that's kind of attached with it, where you were with somebody when you bought it, or it kind of triggers a memory for you. And those were 10 of mine. On to page 2. I have big news. Oh wait, I'm going to do a little bit older news first. Since my last video, I have released a reproduction chart. It was maybe like 4 weeks ago or so, so it wasn't that long ago. The last video, I believe I showed you the Quaker sampler that I won on eBay and told the story about it. So if you didn't hear that story, just go to StitchyTube number 65 and you'll see it in that video. This is the original antique, and I can now, I need to now decide what I'm going to do with it. I think I'm going to have it, you know, conservation framed. It came not conservation framed, with the glass just right on top of it. And it's just like trimmed at the edges. It's not ideal. It's not on acid-free anything, but it's in great shape, and it's such a lovely, lovely sampler. And so I really did, I won this last year, but it was something that I really got to work on right away, just because I just really loved the look of it so much. So this is the sampler. I take them out of the framing pretty much every time I reproduce something, just because it's easier to take a good photograph of them that way, and sometimes you really need to get into a sampler to see it. So that's the antique. And then here is the reproduction. And I think it turned out really great. My friend Kathy stitched the model for me in record time. It was like 19 days or something crazy like that. She just whipped it out. And I think it turned out really, really nice. I am hearing from people already who are stitching it and are enjoying it and finding it so beautiful. One of the things I like about it, besides just the Quaker medallion fabulousness, is if you look at the flowers over on this side, see how there's like a little bit of there's petals that are cream. There's like a tiny bit of cream in it, which I don't know, stuff like that just floats my boat. So this is the reproduction, and this is what yours will look like if you stitch it like I did, or like Kathy stitched for me. She did a great job. It's not one that is probably ideal for Aida cloth, just because there are some of the letters that are over one thread. There aren't specialty stitches, but the over one gets a little bit tricky, and so it's a little bit trickier to do on Aida. This is stitched on 40 count. I think it's Old Sheep by XJude Designs. So there it is. Super proud of that. That one turned out really great. And the chart looks like this. And it comes with a picture of the original on the back, and it comes like all of my sampler charts come with an article, you know, or just like a little essay that I've written about the sampler, what I like about it, what I noticed about the original. And I liked it so much that I actually had mouse pads printed. So if you want to get one of those, I still have those. You can buy them by themselves, or you can, I think you get a little bit of a discount if you buy the chart and the mouse pad. And they're the thinner ones, which I like, because it's just, then you're not kind of, your wrist isn't resting on a kind of a big chunk. So that's those. Really happy with how that one turned out, and I'm glad people are enjoying it. My big news is that my book came in this week on Monday. And I wrote a book, it was a year ago, December, I think is when my last book came out, Red Letter Day, which is still available. And it was such a fun experience that I immediately got to work creating another book. And I think in that video when I released that book, I kind of went into what the process includes to do something like that. It's a long process. This one took a little over a year to come to fruition. And a big chunk of that was just that it's just continued to be so busy. And it really is something that needs your undivided attention. This one has 8 reproduction samplers in it, photographs, art, antique items that I have photographed, and art that I've used from a service that I have for clip art and things like that. And so I really wanted to give the book a very scrapbooky, layered feel where there just were little surprises here, there, and everywhere. So Bolte Hall, who prints Blackbird Designs charts and books, and Beth Twist just used them too for one of her new books. They did the printing for me out of Kansas. They do a great job. It was so exciting and like nerve-wracking too, because you work on it. Then you flip through and you're checking, are the page numbers right? Did they match the table of contents? Did I put the right picture in the right chart with the right place? You're kind of looking for typos. I'm sure there probably are mistakes in there. Please don't tell me where they are, because at this point, I'm just pretending it's perfect. And then when you finally hit that send button, there's like a process that you use. It's called FTP. Look at that. Sorry, guys. Sorry. It's FTP, which is File Transfer Protocol or something like that. It's something I used to use all the time when I did my own web stuff. I had to use this program called Fetch to send my files to the server. So you send this gigantic file, and then you're just like, please be good, please be good, please be good, because there's so many details. There's so much to think about and do, and so many things to consider. And I could see it could be something that you could never finish. If you were really, really, really a perfectionist, I think it could be hard to get something like this done, because at some point you just have to say, this is good enough. You could always make improvements, always make changes, adjust a font size, adjust a title size, make the picture bigger, take new pictures. Getting to the point where you're confident this is done is really nerve-wracking. The book is called Most Humble Hands. I originally was going to call it Mark My Words, because it was a book about marking samplers. It is a book about marking samplers. But I, in some of my, kind of antique props and things, I had a magazine from the 1920s that had an article about schoolgirl samplers that is included in the book. And at the very end of that article, let me see if I can find it so I can just read you that little blurb. I'll show you the book in just a second. I'm just being dramatic. Whoop, whoop. No. Okay, at the very end of it, it's an article about schoolgirl samplers, and it says, certainly it proves at least that art flourishes sometimes in unexpected places and springs from the most humble hands. And I just like that little phrase, and so I decided to call it Most Humble Hands. And this is my book. And I'm super, super proud of it. I'm so proud of it. I can't tell you how proud I am of it. It's unbelievable to get a palette of books and to just open them and feel so happy. It was a really fun project. I had the help of very many friends that I'll talk about in just a little bit. But the driver who dropped them off actually dropped the first ones off. And so he's a very nice young man. And he came up the driveway and he said, I knew whose house it was going to be as soon as I turned the corner. He said, did you write another book? And I said, I did. So he was like, that's so amazing. He was really nice about it. So the cover is a photograph that I bought that was an antique. And it's not the entire photograph, but I did a super high quality scan. And it's a picture of schoolgirls. You can see they've got their needlework. And I like that a lot of them are looking down at their work while their picture is being taken. And I love this little, whatever little happy moment is happening here with these girls. They're teasing each other or being friends. I really wanted this book to celebrate the creators, like the teachers and the girls themselves. And so even though in my mind, I had kind of thought one of the samplers would be on the cover, I really thought I wanted the book to feature most prominently the schoolgirls who stitched the samplers. We never get to see them really. You know, most of the time when you buy an antique sampler, it comes with nothing. It comes in the frame or it doesn't even come in a frame. And you may not have enough information to ever figure out who this little girl was. Sometimes their name isn't even on it. And so I liked, you know, this picture and that it showed faces that would be similar to the ones that stitched the samplers in the book, the same ages. And I just think it's a very sweet picture. I put it, so if you want to be surprised when you get your book, just stop watching now and maybe check back in later in the video. I'm going to do a quick but not thorough flip through. The dedication page is from that magazine that I did something kind of fancy with the cover of the magazine, you know, cropped it, added some butterflies, added a background, added some shadows, and then made this little kind of oval cartouche at the top that says dedicated to those who have passed their love of the needle on to others. And I think that's really neat. So then I have, this is just like the table of contents and all of the information about the book. I do have an ISBN for this one too. I'm looking into possibly, you know, seeing if I can find an additional distributor for the books as well. Hoffman will have this and Yarn Tree will have this as well. I do want to mention my model stitchers for this book were Chris Canaday, who has done a bunch of stitching for me. She stitched Savior's Praise and a lot of my other samplers. Jenny Fleming, Long Dog Stitcher, she stitched 3, so she kind of wins, right? 1, 2, 3. She wins the award for like best in show. Best in show. My good friend Kathy Krause stitched 2. Stacy Walker stitched 1, and I also stitched 1, and it was one that I didn't want to let anybody else stitch because I wanted to stitch it. So I also have, then I have just kind of an article about marking samplers and them being kind of the runt of the sampler litter, being in style types, and then it's just some notes about how to use the book. I kind of tucked butterflies everywhere. To me, I felt like the book needed butterflies. I don't know why. It just felt like the thing to do. I'm going to cover up charts. But then this is one of the samplers, Marianne Newby. And I guess I'll pull these maybe as I go. See if I can find Mary. Okay, so this one immediately was one that was going to go in this book because it's very finely stitched. I believe I bought it on eBay. And it very much illustrates the concept of a marking sampler. So the verse says, "This sampler was given to me by Mrs. William Girling of Scarning, who was so kind as to put me to school and to teach me herself on Sundays." A lot of times a marking sampler was something that somebody learned, you know, sitting with somebody that they had a relationship with. It could be their mother, their aunt, their grandmother, their older sister, a teacher, a friend. And so I really liked the idea of putting this one in the book because it kind of celebrates that little relationship that goes into a marking sampler. It's not as, you know, grandiose as a big pictorial sampler that you might see come out of a very fancy school. This was something that was done at home or on Sundays, you know, just something that would have been done, you know, kind of in a homey way. So that's the original. Where did I put all the samplers? Okay. The model is here, and it turned out really nicely. And it's got some specialty stitches. There are quite a few like eyelets and four-sided stitches in the book, but those can always be stitched just as cross stitch if you don't love doing specialty stitches. So there's that one. And I'm just gonna skip over pages that have charts, but there is fancy artwork on those pages too. This is another sampler. So this is the one that I had to stitch myself, Elizabeth Beard. And this is the model here. The antique is in the top corner there. Here is, I should have brought something kind of to put behind this. This is the original, and it is tatty. Let me see if I can put it against this. So, I mean, it is ripped. It is torn. And I love it, love it, love it. And part of what I really loved about it was just that it was so ripped. Part of what I really loved about it was the teal with the black. And I just really liked this flower. And I know what you're thinking, Teresa, I can't stitch a flower like that. Yes, you can. This little girl couldn't even spell, and she could stitch it. I know you can do it. Let's see. Okay, let me put this here. So the model for that is, here we go. Here. And this is on 36 count ale by Picture This Plus, which was almost a perfect match for the fabric. Look at how tightly my frame shop can frame things these days. Just like I like it. Here is the rose. And I came up with a way to make the rose happen without people freaking out too much. And basically what I did was I created a backstitch line on the graph where you basically just backstitch or straight stitch the pattern as shown. And then you just satin stitch those sections. It's pretty easy. And then I also did create a chart that is just this in cross stitch in case that's something you don't want to try. But it really wasn't that hard, and you don't have to be that neat about it because she wasn't. It's supposed to look kind of sloppy and folky. So there's that one. Love it. Really, really love it. Okay. Oops. I zipped past one. Okay. Then I've got an article about shopping for marking samplers, and then this is the next in the patterns, T. Faro, November 15th. And this is really a pretty standard marking sampler. I tried to include different styles, different color ways, and this was one I bought online. I don't think I paid very much money for it. I really liked... I really like the, you know, ping pong back and forth of like red, blue, red, blue, red, blue. And it's kind of Americana looking with the blue and the navy, or the navy and the red. And it's got a few specialty stitches. It's one that will stitch up pretty quickly. The other thing that you'll see is this kind of starting line of these eye shapes, which is kind of the basis for a lot of letters. So it's basically getting used to the idea of how these letters are going to be formed and just getting used to holding a needle and getting it, you know, following a pattern and getting your stitching in. So that's that one. And here is the model for that one. And I really like it. It's a I don't know what you call it, kind of quintessential sampler design. It's probably what a lot of people think of when they think of samplers. And I liked it so much that I actually included it as the back cover of the book. So that is T. Faro. The next one is EW, a classic marking sampler. And this too is, you know, kind of got a lot of what you would think of with a sampler. It's got the oops, here, let me fix this a little bit. It's got the strawberry border and alphabets in different stitches and different colors. The colors are kind of, you know, kind of autumn colors. I'm going to get a tickle in my throat. Hang on. The original is pretty dark, and the weave is pretty loose. So that's what that one looks like. It actually looks lighter on the screen than it does in person. But it's a very pretty little sampler. And the model for that one is here. And that one I think turned out really nice too. It's got a little bit of kind of a, you know, kind of like a teal blue and russet gold. It's pretty. and it's stitched in 1850. You can see now this is one that she did not put her name on it. It just says EW. And there's a little bird here that I think is very cute. That's all she had room for, to do something to do something other than letters. Letters and lines. Oh, I'm just going to show this page just because I think this bird is really cute. All right, this page is, on this side, is the article from that magazine from the 1920s. And then this is the next sampler reproduction here, Martha Jane Beattie. And little crow, little corvid. So the original is here. And I think this one is really striking. It has almost like a masculine feel to it, and it just makes me think of typography. The letters are just so just sure of themselves. And I love that it's got Roman numerals. That's pretty cool too. That one, because the letters were so bold, I decided to frame in a very bold way. And so the frame is, I mean, it's a heavy frame, and I think this would look great in an office. And for sure you could do it. I think it would be a really neat one done in black, or like a dark blacky brown would be neat too. And so that's that one. But you can see how, even though these all are, they're all just like, what is it? If you had to describe it, you'd say like, oh, it's, you know, letters and numbers and lines. And it's like, oh, okay, how many ways could you do that? And it's like, well, actually kind of a lot of ways. This page has a little bit of chart on it, but I'm going to hold it up just because I really like the way the layout turned out. Again, some photographs from my antique photo collection, clip art through my service, and just a little kind of commentary here on whose name you should stitch on a sampler. The picture of this woman here is just an antique picture I found at an antique shop. She is in no way associated with the samplers, or maybe she is. We don't know. But like the linen background on here was an antique piece of linen that I have in my collection. I just try to include fun things. Okay. I wrote a little article about miniature samplers here. And I had one to include. I own one miniature sampler. I still can't find it. I don't know where it is. It's tiny. It's like this big. And until I finished the book, I looked and looked and looked for that sampler. And I'm sure it was one of those things where I put it somewhere safe, which usually means I can't find it if it goes somewhere safe. So someday I will, but I wrote an article about miniature samplers. And then on both pages here, you see the Elizabeth Franz reproduction and then the antique sampler here. And again, a different style, a different culture. The sampler is here. And this one, too, has some teals in it. I'm noticing a lot of teals in these samplers that I put in the book. But so pretty. Knocks me out. You know, Pennsylvania German style. Can I be sure? Not 100%. But this ticks all the boxes, and her last name is Franz. I'm assuming Pennsylvania German, or German at the very least. And the style is just really, really cool. Once again, kind of same concept, just different configurations. Oh, I'll mention too, like this. These acorns I bought in Amana at Lottie Da's booth in the fall. And then this pottery, my mom and I used to go garage sailing in the 80s. And this, we ran into these potters that were having a garage sale, and it was like slightly imperfect pottery, and we bought it for like $4 a piece. We should have bought everything. It was amazing. My mom used to have this, and she gave it to me, but it's one of the little pots from that garage sale that we went to in Fargo, North Dakota. It's in a book. These are two of my favorite pages in the entire book. I've got on this side, what were they marking? And this is a piece of a textile that I own that's an antique. And it shows the kinds of things that they would have done with the letters that they were learning to make. And so they are family identifiers, sometimes inventory numbers for their linens and other textiles so that they did not get lost at the, if they took them out for laundering or repair, that it was basically a family identifier. They were highly prized. Things like linens and table coverings and napkins and bed coverings and things like that were extremely expensive to make. They were highly valued items, and they did not want to lose them. And they didn't have computers back then to keep track of orders. So the girls or women of the family would mark letters and numbers on the pieces of textiles, and this just shows what that would have looked like. That is an actual antique that I bought on Etsy that was marked. And then this page is a pincushion tomato that I have in my collection that is vintage, and I just blew it way up because I thought it was really cool. Okay, this one is one that I bought 2 years ago. And St. John, that is that's the reproduction. And I've got a picture of the antique in here too. And those are here. This was a little sampler that I bought. We went to Colorado for Harrison's graduation from graduate school. And we went to a little restaurant called Adelita's for lunch. It was a Mexican place in Denver. So good. If you get the chance, so good. But across the street was this little antique shop, and people were like, do you want to look at a few of these antique shops? And we went in, and it was a real eclectic place. Lots of different things. It was an older gentleman who owned the place that was there. He was probably in his 70s, I would say. And he was very, very nice. And I said, do you have any antique samplers? And he goes, yeah, I have one or two. He kind of just gestured out. I have one or two. Well, I found 12. I think it was one of those things. He had some. He didn't really realize that he had them. And he was more interested in pens and watches and things. And so he and my husband had a great time at the counter while I looked for samplers. And that was one that I found. What I liked about it, besides that it just was all green, was this alphabet at the bottom where she just seemed to kind of be making up stitches as she went along, which is totally something I would have done. I loved to just make crafts up, and it wasn't always good. But I just loved the spirit of this little last line of letters where it was just she had different types of stitches. And it's in really good shape. I also really like the prickly dogs or whatever they are. So I call it Anne St. John two prickly beasts. That's the oh, did I never showed this one. There's the Pennsylvania German sampler. Sorry. So many samplers, so little time. So the prickly beasts are at the bottom here, and it's really just a cute little sampler. Not too big, but it's got a lot of personality. And then, I guess I could have shown this page. The last one in the book is this darning sampler for which there is no name and no date. And it's really pretty. I kind of did something unusual with the framing on that one, which I'll show in just a minute. So this is the original sampler, and it's kind of on a cottony fabric. And I guess sometimes it's fun to see the back, so you can see what these backs look like. My backs. That's what my backs look like a little bit of some strings hanging off. But the chart shows you how to make all the patches at the bottom, which is really just kind of like satin stitching or doing long stitches or whatever. Red is always pretty, and it's got some really pretty alphabets, actually. I love a scripty alphabet like that one in the middle. So that's the original. And a lot of times when I go to the frame shop, which Neblets of Hattiesburg framed all of these, by the way, I don't, I oftentimes know going into it, I have an idea in my mind, maybe not this specific frame, but just generally what I want the frame to look like. And this one, I just really wanted to go with kind of a tone on tone with the fabric. And so it's a little bit, I don't know if you can see, it looks a little bit aged, it's kind of crackly a little bit. And it's got kind of a dull or a matte finish, but it really just lets you focus on the sampler itself, and it makes it feel like really airy and kind of summery, and I just like it. So those are all 8 samplers from my book, and like I said, there are a number of articles in there too. Some of the charts are full color, some aren't. It just depends on whatever I thought would make it easiest to stitch. And the books are available now, and you can get that as a download. You can get it as a book, and if you own a shop and you want to get some copies for your shop, you can contact me at my email address below. Otherwise, you can contact Hoffman and Yarn Tree. They will have theirs shortly. But they turned out super great, and I'm really excited, and I hope if you've ordered one that you really enjoy it as well. Ta-da! Okay, it's time for what I'm all into. Okay, first thing that I'm all into. Now I'm looking because I had one here. I do. It's kind of a silly thing to be all into. I love these pens. It is the Bic Round Stick medium width. They're just gray pens. They're a little bit transparent. I use the black ones. I think you can get them in blue. They're so cheap. I bought a box of 60 of them on Amazon for $5. I don't even know how they can make them for that cheap. These pens write and write and write. It's not one of those that you have to like scribble to get going. As soon as you start writing, they write, and they do not stop until they are out of ink. I also like that they don't smear. I can, use them while I work, and I don't have to worry about the ink not being dry if I would set something on top of it. These are my workhorse pens. I have them all over the place, and that they are so inexpensive is kind of flabbergasting to me because they just do their job. So if you're looking for a good inexpensive pen, you can find these at most places like Target or Walmart or, office supply stores or whatever. A lot of times they're like on the bottom in boxes, or they're just, you can get 10 of them for like $1.50. Highly recommend these pens if you haven't ever tried them. They're just smooth as can be. They're my go-to. When I try other pens, I'm like, oh, you're going to skip, are you? Well, you're in the garbage. Bic Round Stick pens. Ladder ball. Have you heard of ladder ball? I bought a ladder ball set. I will put a picture here what it looks like. Before Christmas last year, because I was looking for something we could do as a family when the kids were going to be home. And so I bought this ladder ball set. It is something I learned to play quite a few years ago. And it's a great game to play with people of all ages, sizes, shapes, abilities. It's something that you can teach people in 1 minute. And it's just a game that's full of laughs because it's nothing people play all the time. So really nobody's better at it than anybody else. I mean, you may have to adjust like how close you stand or whatever, but you're basically flinging these 2 tennis balls that are attached to each other and trying to catch them on the rungs of the ladder, and you get points. That's essentially what it is. We got our ladder ball set on Amazon, and I'll put a link below to the ladder ball, the exact one that we bought. I think we bought the biggest size, but you can get another size too. It's easy to set up. You pop it apart, and it goes in a bag that a canvas bag that it comes with to put it away. And it's just really a lot of fun. If you have even just a little bit of yard, they recommend that you set it up like 15 feet apart. So that's about all the space you need. Even just you could play it in the front yard. But it really is a fun game, and it gets you outside into the fresh air. And like I said, we just we played it again this week when the kids were home. It's really, really fun. Okay, something else that I'm all into. Last night I took a bath, and I pulled out this book I bought. I think I bought it a couple years ago, and I had flipped through it, but I hadn't really read it yet. And it's called American Hooked and Sewn Rugs by Joel and Kate Kopp. And it came out a long, long time ago. Let me see if it's got a date in it. I think it's like from, up in the front, it's like the update. Oh, the update was done in 84. This particular book was 84, but it looks like they wrote it in the 70s. I kind of collect books about needlework, antique or vintage needlework, but also about kind of related arts and crafts. And so this one is about hooked rugs. And it just seemed to me to have like some cool pictures. Sometimes I get inspiration for color or, just arrangements and things like that. And so I was reading this. And one of the interesting things I learned was there is a thing called a bed rug. Let me see if I can find one. They are extremely rare. So these are hooked rugs that they would have put on the bed as a bed covering. And they are so rare. At the time of the writing, the authors claim that there are fewer than 50 that are known of that are still in existence. And I don't know if that number has changed. I mean, it's either gone up or gone down, probably. But they, they could have looked like that. That's one of them. And this is one of them too, which I thought, gosh, isn't that a pretty pattern? She really splashed her name on it too. It says Mary Comstock rug. Mary Comstock's rug, January 30th, 1810. She was 66 when she made the bed covering, but it's pretty cool. So anyway, that's where the term snug as a bug in a rug comes from. That it meant snug as a bug in a bed rug, because they were called bed rugs. And so the reason that there are so few of them isn't that nobody made them. It's that people made them and just used them until they fell apart. And then they were just burned or, whatever. So there just aren't that many of them left because they just got used and used and used. So I thought that was cool. I didn't know they did hooked rugs for the bed. But I read a ways into the book, and then I was done with my bath, but I just kind of flipped through. And I noticed this gentleman here. I don't know if you can see him. He's got a tattoo on his chest. I love his, he's kind of got that, sideshow, weightlifter guy look with the big handlebar mustache and the broad shoulders. But it says, "Back from China comes my man, a naked lady on his arm, another lady on his chest. He's a poor, befuddled wretch." I thought that was, so much sass to put on a rug. How much time would have gone into that? It is a one-of-a-kind item for certain. And they really said that they did make an effort to, during the time that rugs were made, which a lot of it was from 1800 until 1860 or whatever, that they excluded rugs that came from kits because it was just kind of mass produced. So a lot of the rugs in here are all things that are kind of a one of a kind. So I thought that was funny. But then if you keep reading, they have other rugs. So this one here says, "My husband is a lazy tramp and generally no good. And would I marry him again? You bet your life I would." And look at, he's so pleased in his hammock. And this one I thought was funny too. It says, "Here hooked is a picture of my husband's kin. I'll be glad when I die and don't see them again." I just think it's so funny that somebody would go to the work of creating from scratch a pattern. And it's just so, it's almost like Wes Anderson-y. This one is a little bit, just kind of those weird, quirky faces. But to be kind of sassy, to kind of throw someone under the bus and make kind of jokes about them. That's just really funny to me. This is a great little book, though, if you like this kind of thing. It's obviously out of print, but you can find this on Etsy, eBay, or Amazon. I bought mine on Amazon. I looked today, and I think you can get this on Amazon right now for $10. And it's a really nice book. Some of it is in black and white just because it's so old. It's 140 pages, but a lot of it is in full color. And it's just really neat to see all the different, patterns and designs and things. It's kind of related, it's not samplers, it's not antique needlework, but it kind of is. And so it's just fun to look at things like that. So I'm into hilarious hooked rug antiques. All right, another thing I'm into is a homemade sandwich. And I am making chicken soup for my husband today. He's got a cold and maybe I'm getting one too. And I went to the store on a Saturday. Why? Why would I go to Walmart on a Saturday? It was busy. But I thought, oh gosh, when was the last time we made sandwiches? So I bought some bread and some turkey and some baby Swiss cheese and some beautiful tomatoes and lettuce and just a sandwich at home with soft bread and tomatoes and a little Miracle Whip. Miracle Whip to me is superior to, what do you call it? Mayonnaise. I don't like actual mayonnaise. I like Miracle Whip because I'm from North Dakota. But for some reason, a homemade sandwich is far superior to one you get at the store. That's just my opinion. I'm all into it. Another thing that I'm all into was this Lego kit I put together a couple weeks ago. And I thought I'd show it to you. I still do collect Legos. And this is one one afternoon, I thought I'm going to sit down and make a Lego kit. And I made this little diorama of London. This kit is still available. It is number 21034. And you can order it at lego.com or, anywhere you would buy toys. One of the things I like about this, besides, I just think it's a really pleasing design of elements of London. I've been on this bridge, Tower Bridge, which is near the Tower of London. So I can picture myself walking on this tiny little bridge. This is the big Ferris wheel called the London Eye. You've got Big Ben. I think this is Trafalgar Square and the National Gallery. But it's just really kind of modern looking, and I just like the color scheme. It didn't take terribly long to put together, but it's really just cute. They do have sets like this of other cities. The San Francisco one is very cute, and I sent it to my brother when he moved to San Francisco. I think the London one, to me, is the best one. It's just a really good design and a really good color scheme. But to me, part of the reason I like to play with Legos is I got to play with my brothers when I was a girl, but girls didn't really get Lego sets back when I, was that age. And to me, it's not that much different than cross stitch because you're following instructions to put something together in a particular order. Only it happens much faster than a cross stitch piece. So I'm into Lego London. And then the last thing that I'm into right now is Faded Fourth. One of the booths that I went to at Market was Elizabeth Tieto's booth. She's Dames of the Needle, so she not only has patterns, but she also dyes fabric and trims, and she's like this cool kind of hippie vibe lady. She's so friendly, and she's really smart, and she's very just like gracious. I just really enjoy Elizabeth. Can't say enough good things about her. And when I went to her booth, I really got to dig this time because I didn't have a Market booth. So I pulled out things that maybe she had already had for a while, but I just had missed it, I carry a lot of her trims and fabrics, but within the same area, I came up with these three products. So there's this Mad Hatter's tea towel, and that's a rickrack. And then there's watermelon juice. And then there's this color, which I really like, called Faded Colonial Blue. And it's a pom-pom trim. And like I said, I feel like I'm just into summer right now because it's just been so warm here. It feels like summer. And that's what, when I came home and started like taking photographs of the things I wasn't able to take photographs of at Market, I was like, ooh, I love the like faded 4th feel to that. Like 4th of July, but like dusty and old. Anyway, it's kind of inspiring to me. Kind of like the vibe. That's what I'm all into this week. All right, I got one more little segment and then one more little announcement thing, and then I'm going to let you go. I always talk about 3 things in my shop, and I have way more than 3 things in my shop. Oh, I got to show this first. I took it out since I was talking about hooked rugs. And I sometimes get gifts from people, and this is not me asking you for gifts. I don't get a lot of gifts. I don't need a lot of gifts. I have so much bounty, but I didn't have one of these. And I got this gift a while back, and it's really one of the nicest things someone has ever given me. And the person who gave it to me, her name is Kelly B. And she just sent me this gift. And it is a hooked rug that she made of a cat. And I don't think I've shown it before. I just love it so much. I love it so much. And I keep moving it like room to room because I'm trying to decide where it's going to land. I don't know. I don't know where it's going to land. But it's landing here right now so you can see it. And I just think it's super, super cool. It's completely my vibe. Primitive and cat with a Boyd. Anyway, very, very nice gift. So I wanted to show that since I had talked about hooked rugs. Okay. Things in my shop. I have very many things in my shop. At this writing, I have 6,100 different things, which is a lot of things. And one of the things that I carry, and I'm sure I've talked about it before, is linen that we dye in-house. And I'm hoping to dye some fabric now this spring, now that market is over. I love to do it. And kind of like the birds of a feather linens that I talked about earlier, I really like things that look old, you know, grungy, have irregular spots and marks on them. I like them to be washed, worn, faded looking, right? Like old sampler fabric. And when my son Graham was working for me, I need a little hand lotion. Weleda, highly recommend it. It's not greasy, which is nice, and it smells good. When Graham was working for me before he moved, he would help me with orders. So he would make shipping labels and he would print invoices and things like that, carry heavy boxes, that kind of thing. And I was dyeing more fabric at that time. And I was like, do you want to can I just show you how to dye fabric? And then I'll kind of tell you what to do. And then you just take care of it. And we have this kind of, I don't know, I'm going to call it proprietary. It's a bonkers method. I was talking to Marilyn at Picture This Plus about it like a year and a half ago. She was like, how do you get, and I started telling her all the steps that we do. And she was like, that is crazy. But it makes it look old, weathered, and worn. And it feels good. Like it smells clean, it feels clean, but it looks old. So Graham started dyeing fabric for me, and he was instantly good at it. Like I just let him go, and he started doing his own thing. And so he has a line called Graham Cracker Fabrics. Well, my son, Harrison, is now a licensed counselor, which is a full-time job, but also not like full-time, meaning that he has breaks in the day. He has only certain days that he sees clients. And so he was like, could I dye fabric too for you? He also is very good at it. So they both dye fabric for me, which is great. I pay them. They're on my payroll. They get a tax form at the end of the year. Like they literally work for me. And the nice thing is that I'm able to offer these really pretty linens that I absolutely love. And I get to work with my sons. I can call and say, I'm not calling you because I want to bother you, but I do have a question regarding work. And so that's really cool. So I have a lot of their fabric in stock right now. They've really been churning it out. And I wanted to share a few colors just to show you what it looks like and announce something new that we're doing. Now, the way you can tell them apart on my website is Graham's fabrics are typically named after desserts or have dessert names. And Harrison's are related to drinks. And that's the way for me to keep it straight in my head, which one of them did what. Kind of the way we operate is like, if we might make a color one time and we don't try to like figure out a recipe so that we can get consistent like time to time to time. Graham has a few that he makes regularly, like Graham Cracker and Tea Set are two of his really popular colors. And Sugar Cookie too. But then I kind of just told the boys recently, I was like, just dye what you feel like, and we'll do it that time. And if we do more later, that's fine. And if we don't, we're just going to keep dyeing interesting fabrics. So it's kind of like, you know, when you go to a restaurant and it's like they hand you, instead of handing you like a menu with 50 things on it, they hand you a piece of paper with 7 things on it. And it's like, this is what we're making today. And tomorrow we might only have one of those things. This is just what we've got today. That's kind of how we're doing it. So these, I just pulled 3 random ones while I was out with the inventory. These are 3 of Harrison's. So pretty. Like, sometimes when I get these in the mail, I will see what they sent. And then I go, oh my gosh, I have to have that. So like I keep a half yard of some of these just because they're so pretty. But anyway, these are 3 of Harrison's colors. This one here is called Medium Roast, right? Coffee, drink related. This one is called Darjeeling. This has got a flax base. And I really like this one. This one is called Yoo-Hoo. You know, like the chocolatey drink Yoo-Hoo. Very, very pretty. But you can see they're kind of faded, grungy. They've got markings on them, but you know, I love them, love them, love them. And then I pulled a few of Graham's as well. I pulled 4 of his. Actually kind of pulled a similar palette. This is what we're all about. So here are his. And these aren't all I've got in stock right now. This is just what I grabbed. This one's been really popular. It's called 40 Count Creme Anglaise. And I love the markings on this one. That particular piece is real, real pretty. This one is Chocolate Biscotti. The box he sent me most recently, I just about fell on the floor. Like, it all was so pretty. This is also new. This is Oatmeal Scone. And I love this one, Molten Chocolate Cake. Ugh. I dig it. So we're starting to do something. Harrison and I have been talking about it. Kind of along this idea of just having things be available, you know, maybe at once, and all the same color, just a lot of it, so that people could get it. And it's not really a club. I have had people ask me about doing fabric clubs, and I used to do them when I had a shop, but that was back before there were supply chain issues. And I just really don't feel confident doing like a monthly club where every month there's a new color, because we just never know month to month if we're going to be able to get base fabric. And even trying to do it with another one of the fabric companies, it just gets really tricky. And then you get people that like want to be in the club, but then a couple months in, they don't want to be in the club anymore. And then somebody didn't sign up for the club, but now they do want to be in it, but can they get the ones that were from the start? And then people want to know, like, well, can I get, I just don't want to do any of that. So we have started, we're calling it the Practical Browns Club. Practical Browns. And basically it's neutral colors that you can use for samplers, prims, the kinds of things I carry, but you don't get to see the color. And so the one we have right now is 40 Count Cup of Cap. It's not always going to be available in every count. It's going to be in what we have available, and we have a certain amount of it. And when it's gone, it's done, but it's kind of has that feel of a club where you can get to be surprised by what you get. I love the Cup of Cap. It's great. I'm gonna have to snag a little bit of it before I'm out. I just put it up a few days ago, and so I'm sure it'll go fast, but it's really, really pretty. So I'm super proud of the fabrics. If you want to find all of them on my site, you can look in the tab bar and then go under fabric and down to Wabi Sabi Fabrics, and that's where you'll find all of our fabrics. Okay, another thing in my shop right now is actually not in stock, but it's coming. I have more on order. Every year, Yarn Tree, who puts on Nashville Needlework Market, ow! Oh, guess who it is? Oh, it's Zero. He's happy because he got some turkey. One of the things that Yarn Tree does is they make a cookbook, and it's got recipes and charts by some of the designers that have come to market. And that's really cool. And usually I'm super busy trying to get ready for market. I used to always contribute. I didn't this year because I didn't have a booth. But they're neat little cookbook that they hand out to everybody, and then you can buy them to sell to your customers. Well, I was, doing market with Jen, and I asked, if this was something that she did she get it? And she goes, oh yeah, they sell really well. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll just try it. So I got like 60 of them, and they sold out right away. So I have more on order. So if you go to the cookbook page in the Nashville section of my website, or just type cookbook into the menu bar, the search bar, you'll come up with it. And it'll say out of stock, but then anytime I have something that's out of stock, it'll say out of stock, and then the add to cart button, he loves me so much. The add to cart button changes so that it says notify when available. What you can do is click the green notify when available button and type in your email address. And as soon as I update it that I have quantities, you'll get an automated email that item is back in stock. And so that's a way that you can make sure to get one. Part of the reason that it sold well is I think people just generally do like them. Is Alma from Blackbird Designs had a chart in there, and I put a picture of it on my site. Now I'm covering up the chart itself, but here is the chart that you get in the cookbook. So it's a good reason to buy the cookbook. I think it's like $12, I want to say, for the cookbook, but it's very many pages and has lots of charts by lots of designers in it. There's a really cute one by Shepherd's Bush in there too. And so it's a good deal. I just had never really taken the time to like sit down and look at it before. And there you go. So this will be back soon. I have them on order. Okay. The last thing that I have in my shop, I got super excited about at market. I love a mystery. I like blind boxes. For my birthday this last week, I got some Squishmallow blind boxes. They're little stuffed animals that smell like treats, and they're very cute and squishy. I just like a surprise. And the Gentle Art Sampler Thread Company usually does a limited edition thread pack at market. And it usually sells out right away. I think last year I could only get 5. They were only letting shops buy 5 of each. So I didn't even list it. I bought 5 and I've given a few away when I needed to say sorry to somebody, or thanks for being patient. Because it just wasn't worth listing for 5. I would have been able to sell, 200 of them. But this year what they did is mystery packs. It's even gold. It's even gold like Willy Wonka. You are shedding, buddy. It's like Willy Wonka's golden ticket even, like the gold label. So I thought, I haven't opened one up yet. And there's 30 potential different colors in a pack. I think you get randomly selected 5 yards. 5, so you get 5 skeins and it's $10, I think. So $2 a skein. So you even get a deal. Are you shedding? So we're going to open this 0, okay? Okay, so we're going to open it and see what we got. Now, none of them have names on them. So if you get one and you're like, I don't know the name, is there a way you could find out what the name is? There's no name. These are just mystery colors. The Gentle Art will sometimes dye something to try, seeing if they want to develop a new color. Maybe they dye a batch and it doesn't come out. They're trying to dye nutmeg, but it doesn't come out like nutmeg. And so they just kind of put it in a bin. And that's what you see with a lot of these limited edition thread colors. Okay, so here are the ones I got. Here, I'll just hold. I'm gonna set him on my lap. I promise. He says, no. You just sit right there. Just sit right there. We're good. We're happy. So here's what we got. They're very pretty, actually. So this, I guess, will be mine since I opened it. Very pretty colors. Very like kind of purpley. It's like berries, like summer berry colors. And I even got a limited edition wool color, a red wool, which will be great for like a little marking sampler or something. And they're actually worth more money. So I feel like I got a bonus in that pack. But these normally retail for $2.60 a skein. So it's really a $13 value at least for 10. And you get to surprise yourself with what colors you get. Now, I cannot promise that if you buy a couple packs that you're going to get all different colors. It's a mystery. It's a mystery pack, so we don't know. But they did tell me there was a potential to get 30 different colors. Anyway, that I thought was just a really clever little thing for them to do, and I was really happy that I could come home with a lot of them so that people could all, enjoy something from the Gentle Art. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is there was a Stacey Nash charting issue this week that came out that I was, neck deep in orders, and somebody sent me an email and I was like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. Well, then I checked my email and I had an email from Stacey. There was an issue, I think, with at least one of her charts that she came out with at market. Her charts, she not only knocked it out of the park, but then she left the park, looked for the ball, found the ball, hit the ball again, and knocked it out of the parking lot. They were great. She had, I think, 12 new patterns, and they were all good, good to great. They were solid. But she's been working on her charting and has changed her style of her covers, which I think looks really great. She and I have been talking a little bit about the printer that I have, and she's trying to decide if she wants to, go into leasing and doing printing in-house like I do. And she did what I've done, and I think a lot of designers have done and struggled with, which is she had a chart. It was the spring chickens chart, where she put it on 2 pages, which meant the squares were smaller, and then it got really hard to read. When you're creating charts in a cross-stitch program, you can create a PDF of that chart. And you can basically say how many squares to the inch you want or how many pages you want to fit it on. And I think probably what happened is it did fit on 2 pages. It's just that once it got printed, some of the symbols became really tough to read. And so there were, some complaints. Now, what I want to say about that is I cannot think of a designer who has not made a mistake with a chart. It's happened to everybody, even the big ones. And it's not a big, I mean, it's not really a big deal because it's cross stitch and it's just supposed to be fun, and they usually fix it or, you know, put out a correction. I don't think stitchers realize how many details go into making a pattern that's cross stitch, because you got to figure, you know, on a good size, like a reproduction sampler can have 65 or 70,000 stitches on it. And then you have all those floss choices, and you have fabric choices, and you have, you know, names and conversions and sizes and converting it to a different size. It's a ton of details to take care of. And there are stitchers out there who will even look at the cover and look at your chart and go, well, on the cover, the sampler has 3 stitches here below her foot, but on the chart, it only says there are 2 stitches below her foot. Which do I do? And it's like, oh my gosh, I just do whatever. It doesn't matter. I always tell people, just, you know, whatever the chart says, that's what you should do. But it's not the end of the world for there to be an issue like this. If you did buy the spring chickens chart from me, you can send me an email and I'd be happy to send you the PDF. Stacy is also happily helping to fix any problems that people are having. It's just what happens sometimes. And so it's not a big deal. She's a great designer. She's a nice lady. And, you know, Mr. Toothless. So it's just one of those things that happens, and it is fixable for sure. And I know everybody gets anxious to stitch the new things, and so it's tough to wait for a correction, but you know, that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. She was not the only designer at Market even to immediately send out corrections. It's a very stressful time to get ready for Market, and like I said, there are so many details in one chart, and then if you're releasing a dozen charts, there just are bound to be, you know, there's just bound to be something that goes not quite 100% right, and that's totally fine. Okay, I think that's it for today. Like I said, I am planning on putting up those interviews from last year's Market at some point in the near future, and I'm hoping to make videos more regularly this year. I might have only released 2 or 3 last year, and I do feel kind of bad about that. I need to find a better life balance, and I miss making videos, so I'm enjoying talking to you right now, and I just need to make an effort to do that. And otherwise, we're going to make some chicken soup for Steve so he feels better. And thanks for hanging out with me today. I guess I'll see you next time. Bye.